We've been told ancient civilizations built with simple tools and brute force. But what if that's completely wrong? At Baalbek, Lebanon, 3 limestone blocks weighing over 80,000 tons each stand perfectly stacked without mortar, a feat modern engineering struggles to replicate. This isn't just impressive, it's impossible by conventional standards. So how did they do it? The answer might rewrite everything we know about human history. Now consider this. Just a short distance from where those 3 giant blocks stand in Lebanon, there's another stone called the Stone of the Pregnant Woman. It weighs around 1,000 tons. That's more than the combined weight of 2 fully loaded 747 jets. And this wasn't even the largest they attempted. But here's the problem. Roman records take credit for the entire Baalbek complex. They claim their engineers built everything you see there. Yet historians know Roman cranes could only lift about 10 tons. Their transport systems couldn't move objects over a few hundred tons. Even today, the world's strongest mobile crane maxes out at about 1,200 tons. So how did they move something heavier than our best modern equipment can handle? Modern engineering firms have analysed these stones. They confirm that moving blocks this size would require technology far beyond anything the Romans possessed. The precision of the joints is another mystery. The stones fit together so perfectly you can't slide a razor blade between them. There are no tool marks, no chisel strikes, no mortar holding them together. At the nearby quarry, evidence tells a different story. There's an even larger block still attached to the bedrock, the Stone of the South. It weighs an estimated 1,650 tons. They started cutting it but never finished. They couldn't move it. This abandoned attempt suggests they reached the limits of their technology, or someone else's technology failed them. Mainstream archaeology still can't explain how these stones traveled from quarry to construction site. The distance isn't trivial. We're talking miles over uneven terrain. Conventional explanations like wooden rollers would collapse under this weight. Even with thousands of workers, the physics doesn't add up. Now consider what we've always been taught about human development. First came agriculture, then villages grew into cities, and finally complex societies built temples and monuments. This timeline makes logical sense. But what if the entire sequence is backward? In southeastern Turkey, archaeologists uncovered something that shouldn't exist. Göbekli Tepe's massive stone pillars date back to 9,600 BCE. That's 7,000 years before Stonehenge, 6 millennia before the Great Pyramid. This sophisticated temple complex was already ancient when what we call civilization was just beginning. But here's the problem. According to conventional history, this was the Stone Age. This was before agriculture, before permanent settlements, before writing. The people who built this should have been simple hunter-gatherers chasing animals and gathering berries. Yet they carved and moved 20-ton limestone pillars across the landscape. They arranged these pillars in precise circles. They decorated them with intricate carvings of animals and abstract symbols. The organization required for such a project suggests something beyond small nomadic bands. This wasn't just a few people working together. This required planners, architects, artisans, and laborers working in coordination. It required knowledge of stoneworking that shouldn't exist for another 5,000 years. The pillars feature precise geometric patterns and apparent astronomical alignments. Some researchers believe the layout corresponds to constellations. Then there's the mystery of its burial. Around 8,000 BCE, someone deliberately filled in the entire complex with earth. They didn't destroy it, they preserved it. They buried these massive stone circles carefully, almost reverently. This act of preservation suggests the site held enormous importance to whoever sealed it away. Mainstream archaeology maintains that hunter-gatherers built Göbekli Tepe, but the scale of the operation contradicts everything we know about such societies. Modern hunter-gatherer groups number in the dozens, maybe hundreds. They don't build monumental architecture. They don't have specialized labor forces. They don't create complex symbolic. What if we've had it backward all along? What if complex spiritual belief came first? What if the need to build temples like Göbekli Tepe actually drove the development of agriculture and settled life? The evidence suggests that rather than religion emerging from civilization, civilization may have emerged from religion. The temple may have been the catalyst that forced humans to organize, to settle, to develop new technologies. Göbekli Tepe doesn't just challenge our timeline, it fundamentally rewrites the story of human development. It suggests that our ancestors were capable of far more than we've given them credit for, that the seeds of civilization were planted much earlier than we thought, that the story we've been telling ourselves about our own past is incomplete at best, wrong at worst. We've been looking at the Amazon all wrong. For centuries, explorers and scientists described it as pristine wilderness. They saw untouched jungle with scattered tribal villages. The conventional story said the soil was too poor to support large-scale civilization, that dense rainforest could never sustain cities, that humans lived here only in small, isolated groups. But technology has changed everything. LiDAR scanning lets us see through the canopy. Aircraft equipped with laser sensors map the ground beneath the trees. What they found contradicts everything we thought we knew. The jungle floor isn't natural, it's engineered. Beneath that green cover lies evidence of massive human settlement. The scans reveal geometric patterns covering thousands of square miles. Perfect circles, precise squares, straight lines running for dozens of miles. These aren't natural formations. They're the footprints of something enormous. We're seeing raised roads connecting settlements, large plazas that once served as central gathering points, irrigation canals that controlled water flow across the landscape, agricultural terraces carved into hillsides. The scale is staggering. Certain areas remain completely off-limits to researchers. Government restrictions prevent exploration in regions that show the most promising patterns. Official reasons cite environmental protection or indigenous rights. But the restrictions often cover precisely the areas where LiDAR shows the most extensive formations. The Amazon wasn't pristine wilderness waiting for modern discovery. It was a managed landscape, a constructed environment. Humanity's first large-scale urban experiment. The indigenous people today may be the descendants of builders who created something extraordinary. We're facing a race against time. The very development that reveals these patterns also destroys them. Each cleared acre might contain evidence that could rewrite history. We're losing knowledge we didn't even know we had. The scale of what's already been lost is unimaginable. What we're seeing suggests a civilization that mastered jungle living. They developed agricultural techniques we're only now rediscovering. They built road networks that connected communities across vast distances. They created sustainable cities that lasted for centuries. The patterns show repeated design elements across different regions. The same geometric shapes appear hundreds of miles apart. The same construction techniques. The same organizational principles. This suggests a shared cultural knowledge across the entire basin. We need to ask why this evidence has been overlooked for so long, why the conventional narrative of empty wilderness persisted despite mounting evidence. What does it mean that we're only discovering these patterns now, as they're being destroyed? The Amazon holds secrets about human civilization that could change everything we think we know. The rubber boom changed the Amazon forever. In the late 19th century, global demand for rubber triggered massive deforestation. Rubber barons carved plantations out of the jungle. They built roads, cleared land, and established processing facilities. The scale of destruction was unprecedented. But here's the problem. The very process of development destroyed archaeological evidence. Plantation construction unearthed historical accounts from rubber workers describe what they found. They wrote about encountering large earthworks. They described geometric patterns in the soil. They found ceramic pieces with complex designs. Some reported discovering entire networks of raised pathways. These weren't crude tribal artifacts. They indicated advanced civilization. The reports were systematically dismissed. Rubber company officials discouraged documentation. Government agents showed no interest. Academic institutions considered the accounts unreliable. The prevailing narrative said the Amazon was empty wilderness. Evidence of complex societies didn't fit that story. Government policies actively encouraged this destruction. Laws prioritized economic development over preservation. Land grants required clearing jungle for agriculture. Tax incentives favored rapid exploitation. There were no protections for archaeological sites. No requirements to report findings. No consequences for destroying evidence. Many areas with the most promising evidence became deliberately inaccessible. Rubber companies restricted access to their concessions. They guarded territories against outsiders. Government survey teams only visited areas designated for development. Indigenous communities who knew about the sites were displaced or silenced. The rubber industry didn't just exploit the Amazon's resources, it erased its history. The rush for profit destroyed evidence that could have rewritten human history. We lost knowledge about sophisticated civilizations that mastered jungle living. The scale of loss is incalculable. This wasn't accidental destruction, it was systematic. The economic incentives prioritized short-term gain over long-term knowledge. The prevailing scientific paradigm said complex societies couldn't exist in the Amazon. So when evidence appeared, it was treated as anomaly or fiction. The pattern continues today. Modern development follows the same logic. Economic interests still outweigh archaeological preservation. The difference now is technology. LiDAR reveals what was destroyed before we knew it existed. What we lost wasn't just pottery or stone tools. We lost the context. We lost the connections between sites. We lost the opportunity to understand how these societies functioned. The rubber industry didn't just take the trees. It took our understanding of human history in one of the world's most important regions. How did millions feed themselves in the jungle? The answer lies in the terraces. Recent discoveries reveal sophisticated agricultural systems across the Amazon basin. These aren't small garden plots. They're engineered landscapes covering thousands of square miles. But here's the problem. Conventional theory claimed the Amazon soil couldn't support intensive agriculture. Scientists said nutrients washed away too quickly. The rainfall patterns made sustained farming impossible. The evidence now proves otherwise. The terraces show advanced water management techniques. They built intricate irrigation canals that controlled water flow. They created drainage systems that prevented flooding. They constructed reservoirs that stored water during dry seasons. The precision of these systems rivals modern agricultural engineering. Soil analysis reveals even more surprises. The terraces contain dark, fertile earth called terra preta. This isn't natural soil. It's human-made. They enriched poor jungle soil with charcoal, pottery fragments, and organic waste. The result was soil that remained fertile for centuries. Some terra preta patches still support abundant growth today. Crop evidence shows diverse agriculture. They grew maize, manioc, squash, and fruit trees. They cultivated medicinal plants. They managed orchards that produced food year-round. This wasn't subsistence farming. This was sustainable agriculture supporting large populations. The scale of these systems is staggering. Terraces cover entire hillsides. They extend for miles across floodplains. They transform difficult terrain into productive farmland. The labor investment suggests organized societies. Conventional archaeology underestimated Amazonian populations. The terraces suggest cities of millions could feed themselves sustainably. They developed agriculture that worked with the jungle rather than destroying it. They created food systems that lasted for centuries without degrading the environment. What we're seeing isn't primitive farming, it's sophisticated ecological engineering. The Amazonians understood soil chemistry, water dynamics, and plant relationships. They manipulated ecosystems on a continental scale. The implications are profound. This changes our understanding of what's possible in tropical environments. It challenges modern agricultural practices that destroy soil and require constant inputs. It suggests we have much to learn from ancient knowledge. These weren't isolated innovations. Similar terrace systems appear across the Amazon basin. The same design principles, the same soil enrichment techniques, the same water management strategies. This suggests shared knowledge across vast distances. The loss of this knowledge represents a tragedy. The rubber boom and modern deforestation destroyed countless terrace systems. We're only now recognizing what was lost. The patterns visible in LIDAR scans show the ghost outlines of what once existed. The Amazonian mastery of jungle agriculture stands as one of humanity's great achievements. They solved problems we're still struggling with today. They fed millions without destroying their environment. They created sustainable civilizations that lasted for millennia. Their knowledge could help us address modern agricultural challenges if we can recover what was lost. Why are certain areas of the Amazon completely off limits to archaeologists? Large portions of the basin remain restricted from scientific exploration. Government policies create protected zones where researchers can't conduct fieldwork. The official reasons cite environmental protection and indigenous rights. These explanations seem reasonable on the surface. But here's the problem. These restricted areas often contain the most promising archaeological evidence. Satellite imagery shows geometric patterns precisely in these protected zones. The same LiDAR technology that reveals ancient settlements elsewhere detects structures in forbidden territories. The patterns match. Indigenous tribes report ancient structures in these protected areas. They describe stone formations and earthworks that match the satellite imagery. Their oral histories speak of earlier civilizations that built in the jungle. These accounts align with the technological evidence but can't be verified without physical examination. Government policies maintain these restrictions despite mounting evidence. Permits for archaeological work face extraordinary delays. Applications get lost in bureaucratic processes. Official channels cite conservation concerns while development projects proceed in adjacent areas. The pattern suggests something beyond environmental protection. Some researchers claim governments are suppressing evidence. They argue that proof of advanced civilizations could challenge national historical narratives. It might force re-evaluation of land rights and resource claims. Ancient settlements could complicate modern territorial disputes. The status quo becomes easier to maintain than confronting new historical truths. The patterns visible from space suggest knowledge we're not allowed to study. They show urban planning that rivals modern cities. They reveal agricultural systems that sustained large populations. They indicate engineering capabilities that shouldn't exist in the historical timeline. Each restricted area potentially holds answers to questions we're just beginning to ask. The restrictions aren't just about protecting nature, they're controlling information. They're preventing us from understanding the full scope of human history in the Amazon. We're being kept from evidence that could rewrite textbooks and challenge conventional wisdom. Modern technology makes this suppression increasingly difficult to justify. Satellite imagery is widely available. LiDAR data reveals what's hidden beneath the canopy. The evidence is visible to anyone who knows where to look. Yet physical verification remains impossible without government approval. The situation creates a scientific dilemma. We have compelling evidence of advanced civilizations but can't conduct proper research. We see patterns that suggest extraordinary achievements but can't date them properly. We have technological proof but lack the context that only We're left with a disturbing conclusion. The Amazon's secrets aren't just hidden by jungle growth. They're hidden by policy. They're concealed by bureaucracy. They're protected by systems designed to prevent discovery. The truth about human history in this region is being actively suppressed. The evidence suggests we're not just missing pieces of the puzzle, we're being prevented from seeing the puzzle itself. The restrictions ensure that certain questions never get answered, that certain discoveries never get made, that certain truths never see the light of day. What are they protecting us from finding? What knowledge are they keeping hidden? The patterns in the restricted zones suggest civilizations that mastered their environment, societies that built sustainable cities, cultures that developed advanced technologies. We're being kept from understanding our own history. China maintains strict control over certain archaeological zones. These areas remain completely off-limits to foreign researchers and even most Chinese scientists. The government designates them as military restricted zones or special protection areas. No one gets in without high-level approval. Pilots flying over these regions have reported something extraordinary. They describe seeing a massive white pyramid structure. Their accounts claim it dwarfs Egypt's Great Pyramid in both height and volume. They report a structure with unusual reflective properties. Some accounts mention multiple pyramids in the same region. The Chinese government blocks all investigation. They deny access to the areas where these structures allegedly exist. Official statements dismiss the reports as misunderstandings or fabrications. They maintain that no such structures exist in Chinese territory. The denial remains consistent across all government channels. Satellite imagery reveals intriguing patterns in these restricted zones. The images show large geometric formations that don't match natural topography. Some patterns resemble massive earthworks or foundations. The scale of these formations suggests intentional construction rather than natural features. The resolutions available to the public don't provide clear. The potential pyramid sites show similar characteristics. The reported size implies construction capabilities beyond ancient Chinese technology. Moving the required materials would challenge modern engineering. The precision required for such a massive structure suggests advanced mathematical knowledge. These findings point to something predating known Chinese dynasties. The technology required doesn't match any recorded historical period. The scale of construction suggests organized society with significant resources. This could represent a civilization lost to historical records. China's suppression of investigation suggests more than environmental protection. The consistency of their denial, despite mounting evidence, raises questions. The restricted zones cover areas with the most promising archaeological potential. The pattern matches what we've seen in the Amazon and other regions. The evidence suggests China isn't just hiding a single structure. They might be concealing an entire civilization. The potential pyramid could be part of a larger complex. Other geometric formations in the area support this possibility. The scale of what might be hidden could rewrite Asian history. The technological implications are profound. Construction of such massive structures requires knowledge we don't attribute to ancient cultures. The precision engineering suggests advanced mathematical understanding. The material handling capabilities imply innovative solutions to logistical problems. This isn't just about archaeology, it's about understanding human capabilities. It's about recognizing that our historical timeline might be incomplete. It's about acknowledging that ancient peoples might have achieved more than we've credited them with. The White Pyramid mystery represents another piece in a global pattern. From Baalbek to Göbekli Tepe to the Amazon, we see evidence of advanced ancient capabilities. The consistent suppression of this evidence suggests systematic resistance to changing historical narratives. We're left with satellite images we can't verify, witness accounts we can't confirm, government denials that don't match the available evidence. The truth remains hidden behind military checkpoints and bureaucratic barriers. What China might be protecting could change everything we know about human history in Asia. Now consider something raised from a shipwreck off the Greek coast in 1901. For decades it sat in a museum storage room, a corroded lump of bronze and wood that nobody understood. Then researchers applied modern imaging technology. What they found inside shouldn't exist. This mechanism contains precision gears that form a complex astronomical computer. It predicts planetary movements with astonishing accuracy. The device calculates lunar phases, solar eclipses, and planetary positions. It models the irregular motion of the moon using mathematical principles that wouldn't be formally described for another 1500 years. But here's the problem. This technology matches Renaissance-era complexity while predating it by a millennium and a half. The gear systems show sophisticated engineering design. The bronze components display precision manufacturing techniques. The mathematical calculations embedded in its mechanisms demonstrate advanced astronomical knowledge. No other devices like this appear in the archaeological record. Nothing even comes close. We have sundials and water clocks from the same period, simple instruments for measuring time, but nothing with interacting gear systems, nothing with this level of computational capability. The mechanism stands alone in human history. The knowledge required suggests a lost school of engineering. Somebody understood gear ratios and mechanical computation. Somebody mastered bronze casting and precision machining. This wasn't trial and error. This was mature technology based on established principles. The device shows evidence of iterative development. Conventional history claims ancient Greeks lacked such technical capability. Textbooks describe their technology as primitive, their tools as basic, their manufacturing as crude. This device contradicts every assumption. It demonstrates capabilities we don't attribute to any ancient civilization. The mechanism's full purpose remains partially unexplained, despite decades of study. Modern researchers continue discovering new functions through advanced imaging. The device contains inscriptions that haven't been fully deciphered. Some gears remain unaccounted for in current reconstruction. The mechanism raises difficult questions about technological progress. Why did this knowledge disappear? Was it suppressed? Was it too advanced for its time? Did political or social changes cause the loss? The complete absence of similar devices suggests something systematic occurred. The device's discovery forces us to reconsider ancient capabilities. We might have underestimated what our ancestors achieved. We might have missed evidence of advanced technology. We might need to rewrite our understanding of technological development. The mechanism serves as a warning about knowledge preservation. It demonstrates how easily advanced understanding can be lost, how completely civilizations can forget their own achievements, how fragile technological progress actually is. What else might we have lost? What other advanced technologies existed in antiquity? The mechanism suggests we're only seeing part of the picture, that our historical record contains gaps we haven't recognized, that ancient peoples might have achieved more than we've credited them with. This single device changes our perspective on human history. It proves that advanced technology existed much earlier than we thought. It shows that technological regression is possible. It suggests that our linear view of progress might be flawed. Among the famous Dead Sea Scrolls found in Qumran, one document stands completely apart. While the others are written on fragile parchment or papyrus, this one is made of copper. It isn't a religious text or philosophical treatise, it's a list, a detailed inventory of hidden treasures scattered across the Judean desert. But here's the problem. The locations described don't match any known geography. The landmarks mentioned don't correspond to actual places. The directions lead nowhere familiar. It's like trying to follow a map to a city that doesn't exist, using streets that were never built. The quantities are staggering. The scroll lists 64 hiding places containing tons of gold and silver. Precise weights are given down to the talent measurement. We're talking about wealth that would dwarf most ancient treasuries. Gold vessels, silver bars, ritual objects of immense value. Enough precious metal to finance armies or build cities. Numerous expeditions have tried to find this treasure. Archaeologists have followed the descriptions. Treasure hunters have scanned the deserts. None have found anything. The searchers have turned up empty despite careful study of the text. The lack of success has led some to dismiss the whole thing as fiction. The language itself creates additional barriers. The scroll uses coded references and obscure terms. It mentions structures that archaeologists can't identify. It describes landmarks that don't appear in other historical records. The treasure described could rewrite economic history. Such massive wealth would challenge our understanding of ancient Judean resources. It would force re-evaluation of temple economies and royal treasuries. The scale suggests economic systems more complex than previously believed. The most compelling possibility remains that the treasure exists, that we simply can't interpret the map correctly, that the landmarks have changed over 2 millennia, that the codes require keys we haven't discovered, that the descriptions make sense only to those with specific knowledge. Consider what's at stake. This isn't just about finding gold and silver. It's about verifying historical accounts. It's about understanding how ancient peoples stored and protected wealth. It's about potentially discovering artifacts of enormous cultural significance. The Copper Scroll represents a unique category of ancient mystery. It's not a technological puzzle like the Antikythera mechanism. It's not an architectural mystery like Baalbek. It's a literal treasure map, waiting for the right interpretation. The very existence of such a detailed inventory suggests something real was being recorded. People don't go to the trouble of creating permanent metal records for fictional treasures. The precision of the measurements suggests actual objects were being catalogued. We're left with a fascinating possibility that somewhere in the Judean desert, hidden in caves or underground chambers, lies one of history's great treasures. That the wealth described actually existed and still awaits discovery. That all that's missing is the ability to understand the directions properly. The Copper Scroll challenges our assumption that we can easily interpret ancient texts. It shows that even when we have the information, we might lack the context to understand it. It suggests that historical knowledge isn't just about finding evidence, it's about being able to read it correctly. This ancient treasure map continues to tantalize researchers. It represents both a mystery and a potential discovery of immense importance. The treasure likely exists. We just need to learn. Imagine a book that no one can read. Not medieval scholars, not modern cryptographers, not even artificial intelligence. The Voynich manuscript has baffled experts for over 6 centuries. It contains 448 pages of unknown writing accompanied by bizarre illustrations. The text uses over 200 unique characters arranged in patterns that suggest language, yet it matches nothing we recognize. But here's the problem. The world's best codebreakers have failed to decipher it. Military cryptographers from both world wars attempted to crack it. Linguists have applied every analytical technique. Supercomputers have run pattern recognition algorithms. All have reached the same conclusion. This writing follows grammatical rules, but represents no known language. The illustrations deepen the mystery. They show plants that don't exist. Botanical drawings depict flora with no equivalent in nature. The details are precise and consistent, suggesting real specimens rather than imaginary creations. The anatomical sections show biological systems that don't correspond to human or animal physiology. The astronomical charts display celestial patterns unknown to science. The writing shows remarkable consistency throughout. The same hand appears to have created the entire manuscript. The character frequency follows patterns similar to real languages. Words repeat in logical sequences. Sentences show structure and organization. This isn't random scribbling. It's clearly intentional communication. Carbon dating confirms the manuscript's age. It was created between 1404 and 1438. The vellum pages and ink composition match other medieval documents. The craftsmanship shows careful attention to detail. The author clearly intended this work to be understood by someone, yet the meaning remains completely elusive. Multiple theories have been proposed. Some suggest it's a coded medical text. Others believe it contains alchemical secrets. There are claims it represents a lost language or dialect. The religious imagery has led some to connect it to secret sects or mystical traditions. None of these explanations fully. The most compelling possibility is that this represents knowledge we've forgotten how to access. The manuscript may contain information from a lost civilization or forgotten tradition. The illustrations could show plants that are extinct or astronomical knowledge that was later suppressed. The writing might preserve a language that disappeared completely. Consider what it would mean if we could read this text. We might discover advanced medical knowledge from the medieval period. We could learn about astronomical observations that predate modern telescopes. We might find evidence of cultural exchanges that history has forgotten. The potential revelations are enormous. The manuscript now resides at Yale University's Rare Book Library. Researchers continue to study it using the latest technology. Multispectral imaging reveals hidden details. Computer algorithms attempt pattern recognition. Yet the fundamental mystery remains intact. The book keeps its secrets. This isn't just an odd historical curiosity. It's a reminder of how much knowledge can be lost. It shows that writing alone doesn't preserve understanding. Without the cultural context, without the living tradition, even carefully recorded information becomes inaccessible. The Voynich manuscript represents the ultimate example of how knowledge can disappear. We're left with a profound question. Is this manuscript an elaborate hoax, or does it contain genuine knowledge we're not advanced enough to understand? The consistency and complexity suggest it's real. The care in its creation implies importance. The mystery endures because the answer might change our understanding of medieval knowledge and capabilities. Easter Island presents us with two enduring mysteries. Everyone knows the giant stone statues staring out to sea. Fewer know about the wooden tablets found across the island. These tablets contain a unique writing system called Rongorongo. The symbols cover the wood in carefully carved sequences. They represent the only indigenous writing system discovered in Polynesia. But here's the problem: no one can read it. The script remains completely undeciphered despite numerous attempts. Linguists have tried for over a century to crack the code. Computer algorithms have analyzed the patterns. All attempts have failed to produce a coherent translation. The language behind the symbols remains locked away. The writing technique itself is extraordinary. Rongorongo uses a method called reverse boustrophedon. The reader starts at the bottom left corner. They read the first line left to right. Then they rotate the tablet 180 degrees. They read the next line from what was the right side. This alternating pattern continues throughout the text. This reading method appears nowhere else in the world. The content could explain the island's greatest mystery. These tablets might describe how the massive statues were moved. They could reveal the island's history before European contact. They might contain religious texts or astronomical knowledge. The information they hold could finally explain how a small population created such enormous monuments. Conventional history claims the islanders had no writing system. Textbooks describe them as an isolated Stone Age culture. The statues were supposedly created with primitive tools. The Rongorongo script contradicts this simple narrative. Today, only about 24 tablets survive. They're scattered in museums around the world. The surviving examples are in poor condition. Wood deteriorates quickly in tropical climates. Many tablets show extensive insect damage. The carving has faded on others. Complete analysis becomes nearly impossible with such fragmentary evidence. The few remaining tablets show remarkable sophistication. The symbols include human figures, animals, and geometric shapes. The carving precision suggests specialized tools. The arrangement shows clear organizational principles. This wasn't primitive scratching on wood. This was sophisticated record-keeping by a literate society. We're left with a frustrating situation. We have physical evidence of writing. We know the culture that produced it, but we've lost the ability to understand it. The key to reading Rongorongo disappeared with the last knowledgeable individuals. The knowledge wasn't written down elsewhere. This represents more than just a translation challenge. It's a complete loss of cultural memory. An entire civilization's knowledge became inaccessible. Their history, their beliefs, their technological understanding, all locked in symbols we can't interpret. The tablets sit in museum cases, their messages silent. The Rongorongo script stands as a monument to lost knowledge. It shows how easily advanced understanding can disappear. It demonstrates that cultural achievement isn't inevitable progress. Sometimes knowledge gets lost. Sometimes whole systems of understanding vanish. The Easter Islanders developed something unique and extraordinary, only to have it destroyed before we could learn from it. We may never decipher these tablets. The context is too lost, the cultural knowledge too fragmented, the physical evidence too damaged. They remain one of archaeology's most frustrating puzzles. A writing system we can see but not read. A civilization's knowledge preserved but not accessible. A reminder that some historical doors may remain permanently closed. Ancient electricity challenges everything. The devices could have served practical purposes. Electroplating represents one possibility. The small current could deposit thin layers of gold or silver onto other metals. Some artifacts from the period show evidence of such treatment. Medical applications offer another potential use. Mild electric currents can produce analgesic effects. Ancient texts describe treatments that might match these capabilities. No wires or connecting components have been found with these devices. No ancient texts describe their function. No illustrations show them in use. This absence of contextual evidence makes interpretation difficult. The isolation of these objects from any explanatory context represents a major obstacle to understanding their purpose. Mainstream archaeology generally dismisses them as storage vessels. The official explanation claims they held scrolls or precious materials. The iron rod supposedly supported a scroll inside the copper cylinder. This interpretation ignores the experimental evidence. It disregards the fact that these arrangements consistently produce electricity. The dismissal seems based more on preconception than evidence. The knowledge required suggests understanding of basic electrical principles. Someone recognized that certain metals produce effects when combined with acidic solutions. They engineered containers to maximize this reaction. They selected materials that would create the desired outcome. This represents applied scientific knowledge, not accidental discovery. If these were indeed used as batteries, the implications are profound. This technology predates conventional electrical discovery by about 1,800 years. The modern battery wasn't invented until the late 18th century. Yet here we have evidence that the basic principles were understood millennia earlier. This represents a technological leap that shouldn't exist in the historical timeline. Consider what this means for our understanding of ancient capabilities. We're not talking about massive stones or mysterious scripts. This is precise technological knowledge. This is understanding of chemical reactions and electrical principles. This suggests a level of scientific advancement that contradicts We're left with a simple device that raises complex questions. How widespread was this knowledge? What other applications might have existed? Why did this technology disappear for nearly 2,000 years? The Baghdad battery reminds us that our historical understanding remains incomplete. That sometimes the most revolutionary discoveries come in the smallest packages. Now consider thousands of carved stones discovered in Peru. They show scenes that shouldn't exist. Human figures performing open heart surgery, detailed brain operations, organ transplants. The surgical precision shown in these carvings matches modern medical techniques. The instruments depicted resemble contemporary surgical tools. These procedures weren't developed until the 20th century. But here's the problem. Some stones show even more astonishing scenes. Humans interacting with dinosaurs. People riding what appear to be triceratops. Figures standing beside recognizable sauropods. These depictions contradict everything we know about natural history. Dinosaurs disappeared millions of years before humans evolved. This coexistence shouldn't be possible. Other stones reveal advanced astronomical knowledge. They show celestial events with precise accuracy, star patterns that match ancient skies, comet trajectories that align with historical records. The astronomical information suggests observation skills beyond what we attribute to ancient cultures. The knowledge appears too sophisticated for the time period. Critics dismiss the stones as modern hoaxes. A local farmer admitted carving some specimens. He demonstrated creating similar engravings with basic tools. The admission seems to settle the matter for mainstream archaeology. They consider the case closed without further investigation. However, weathering tests tell a different story. Many stones show patina and erosion patterns, suggesting great age. The wear appears consistent with centuries of exposure. The oxidation layers match other authenticated artifacts from the region. The physical evidence contradicts the simple forgery explanation. The sheer volume of stones makes... The surgical scenes present particular challenges. The figures use tools resembling modern scalpels and forceps. They show procedures like caesarean sections and tumour removals. The anatomical accuracy suggests first-hand knowledge of human physiology. This level of medical understanding shouldn't exist in ancient Peru. The dinosaur depictions raise even more questions. The carvings show specific species with accurate features. The details match paleontological knowledge gained only recently. The precision suggests either incredible guesswork or actual observation. Neither explanation fits conventional historical models. These aren't just decorative rocks. They're potential medical and astronomical records. They could represent knowledge passed down from earlier civilizations. They might show techniques and observations that were later lost. The controversy highlights a fundamental problem in archaeology. When evidence contradicts established narratives, it often gets dismissed rather than investigated. The stones present anomalies that challenge multiple fields of study. Their very existence forces uncomfortable questions. We're left with two possibilities. Either this is an elaborate hoax on an enormous scale, or it's evidence of advanced ancient knowledge that doesn't fit our historical timeline. Both explanations present their own set of problems. Both require reconsidering what we think we know. The Ica stones remain in museum collections and private holdings. They continue to spark debate among researchers. They represent one of archaeology's most perplexing puzzles. Their resolution could change our understanding of ancient capabilities, or they could stand as history's most ambitious forgery. The truth remains carved in stone, waiting for proper interpretation. In 1513, an Ottoman admiral named Piri Reis created a world map that should not exist. This wasn't just another navigational chart. It showed coastlines and landmasses that no European could have known about at that time. The map's most controversial feature appears at the bottom edge. It depicts a landmass that matches the underwater topography of Antarctica with startling accuracy. But here's the problem. Some scholars argue it's simply a misrepresentation of South America. They claim 16th century mapmakers often distorted coastlines based on incomplete reports. They compiled charts from scattered accounts and second-hand information. This could explain apparent inaccuracies in the map's portrayal of the Americas. Piri Reis himself provided crucial information about his sources. He claimed to have used 20 ancient charts and 8 maps from Arab and Indian sources. Some of these source maps supposedly dated back to the time of Alexander the Great. This suggests he was working from knowledge passed down through centuries. Modern geological studies support the possibility of an ice-free Antarctica. The continent may have been free of ice more than 6,000 years ago. This was long before any known civilization capable of such precise cartography. The timing adds weight to the theory that the map preserves ancient knowledge. The implications are profound. If accurate, this suggests seafaring capabilities far beyond accepted history. It implies that ancient civilizations explored the entire planet. They mapped continents we think were discovered much later. They possessed cartographic skills that rival modern techniques. This wasn't just a map drawn from contemporary exploration. It was a compilation of ancient knowledge. It represents geographical understanding that predates recorded history. The map preserves information that should have been lost to time. Alternative theories suggest early sailors traveled much further than history acknowledges. Phoenician, Chinese, or even pre-Columbian civilizations might have reached Antarctica. They could have documented coastlines that were later forgotten. Their knowledge might have survived in fragmentary form until Piri Reis compiled it. The accuracy debate continues among cartographic experts. Some analyses highlight precise coastal alignments. Others point to distortions and inaccuracies in the American sections. These discrepancies fuel arguments about the map's true nature and origins. The historical context matters greatly. The map was created during Europe's age of exploration. Knowledge of the world was expanding rapidly. Yet this map suggests that other cultures already possess. We're left with a document that shouldn't exist according to conventional history. It shows geography that couldn't have been known. It suggests capabilities that shouldn't have been possible. The Piri Reis map remains one of cartography's greatest mysteries, challenging everything we thought we knew about the history of exploration and the capabilities of ancient civilizations. Now consider what we're actually losing in the Amazon. Deforestation has eliminated millions of acres that could contain archaeological evidence. The destruction isn't slowing down, it's accelerating, faster than we can document what's there. The scale of loss becomes more staggering with each passing year. But here's the problem. Satellite imagery shows thousands of geometric patterns already damaged or destroyed. The same technology that reveals ancient settlements also documents their disappearance. We're gaining knowledge and losing evidence simultaneously. The race against time is one we're currently losing. The rubber boom started this destruction in the 19th century. Plantation construction unearthed artifacts that were dismissed or destroyed. Historical accounts from rubber workers describe finding sophisticated pottery and structures. These reports were ignored because they contradicted the empty jungle narrative. The economic incentives prioritized development over preservation. Modern logging and agriculture continue the pattern. Cattle ranching clears vast areas without archaeological survey. Farming operations plough through potential sites without documentation. The destruction is systematic and largely unrecorded. We're losing evidence before we even know it exists. Indigenous knowledge compounds this loss. Elder generations hold information about ancient sites. Their oral histories describe structures and patterns. This knowledge disappears as elders pass away. The connection between living memory and physical evidence is breaking. We're losing the cultural context that could help interpret what we find. Current protection efforts are completely inadequate. Protected zones cover only a fraction of the Amazon. Enforcement is weak in remote areas. This isn't just about losing trees. We're losing human history. We're erasing evidence of civilizations that mastered jungle living. We're destroying knowledge that could help us address modern environmental challenges. The loss extends far beyond archaeology. The scale of destruction is unimaginable. Millions of acres cleared, thousands of sites destroyed, countless artifacts lost forever. The cumulative impact represents one of history's great cultural tragedies. We're witnessing the erasure of entire chapters of human development. The process is also irreversible. Once a site is destroyed, it's gone forever. The context can't be recovered. The artifacts can't be replaced. The knowledge can't be reclaimed. We're making decisions now that future generations will regret. The Amazon holds secrets about human adaptation and survival. It contains evidence of sustainable civilization. It shows how humans can thrive in challenging environments. This knowledge could be crucial as we face climate change and resource limitations. We're losing more than just archaeological sites. We're losing potential solutions to modern problems. We're losing examples of successful environmental management. We're losing models of sustainable living. The loss affects our future as well as our past. The situation requires immediate attention. We need better protection for archaeological zones. We need faster survey methods. We need to integrate indigenous knowledge into preservation efforts. The current approach isn't working. The Amazon's scale of loss represents a crisis in understanding human history. We're destroying evidence faster than we can study it. We're losing knowledge we didn't know we had. The consequences will echo through future generations of research and understanding. Why does mainstream science consistently resist discoveries that challenge established historical narratives? The pattern appears across multiple fields of ancient research. From Baalbek's massive stones to Göbekli Tepe's early temple complex, evidence mounts that contradicts conventional timelines. Yet academic institutions frequently dismiss or ignore contradictory findings without proper investigation. This isn't just healthy skepticism, it's systematic resistance. The marginalization isn't accidental. Researchers presenting evidence of advanced ancient technologies often meet immediate dismissal. Their methods get questioned more rigorously than conventional studies. Their credentials face greater scrutiny. Colleagues may distance themselves from controversial findings. The professional risk of challenging historical orthodoxy becomes too great for many academics. This pattern repeats across different regions and time periods. The same resistance appears whether discussing South American megaliths, Asian pyramid structures, or Mediterranean archaeological sites. The consistency suggests systemic issues rather than isolated cases of skepticism. Different academic communities show similar reactions to disruptive evidence. Many significant discoveries come from outside established institutions. Independent researchers, alternative archaeologists, and even accidental finds often lead the way. Mainstream science then plays catch-up, sometimes taking decades to acknowledge what outsiders discovered first. This pattern suggests institutional blindness to evidence that doesn't fit predetermined narratives. The cumulative evidence points to more than coincidence. When multiple anomalies across different fields all face similar resistance, we must consider systemic factors. The consistent pattern of dismissal suggests protection of existing narratives takes priority over genuine investigation. The scientific method should favor evidence over tradition, yet the reverse often occurs. Academic institutions protect their authority by maintaining control over historical narratives. Accepting alternative theories would require admitting gaps in current understanding. It would force rewriting textbooks and reconsidering established chronologies. The institutional inertia against such changes proves enormous and difficult to overcome. The peer review process, while valuable for quality control, can also suppress innovation. Reviewers often come from conventional backgrounds and may reject papers for challenging their beliefs. The system filters out ideas that don't conform to mainstream thinking. This creates echo chambers. This systemic resistance affects public understanding of history. People receive simplified narratives that omit contradictory evidence. Museums display interpretations based on incomplete information. Educational systems teach history as settled fact rather than evolving understanding. The cost of this resistance is distorted public knowledge about human development. The consistent pattern suggests we need more open inquiry systems. We need funding mechanisms that support alternative research. We need publication platforms that welcome controversial findings. We need academic cultures that reward challenging established ideas rather than punishing those who propose them. Without these changes, our understanding of history remains incomplete and potentially inaccurate. The evidence we've examined suggests historical narratives require serious reconsideration. The systematic resistance to this reconsideration represents one of the biggest obstacles to understanding our past. Until we address this institutional bias, we may continue missing crucial pieces of human history. Now consider what emerges when we step back and look at the global pattern. Similar architectural styles appear across cultures separated by oceans and centuries. Megalithic construction techniques, astronomical alignments, and advanced mathematical principles surface in civilizations that supposedly developed in complete isolation from one another. The evidence suggests something far more interconnected than conventional history admits. The precision stonework at Baalbek finds its mirror in Peru and Egypt. The same uncanny fitting of massive blocks, the same absence of mortar, the same seamless joints that defy explanation. These techniques appear across continents where no known contact occurred according to standard timelines. The similarities extend beyond superficial resemblance into fundamental construction methodologies. Astronomical knowledge presents another parallel. Cultures separated by vast distances demonstrated identical understanding of celestial movements. They built structures aligned to solstices and equinoxes with identical precision. They tracked planetary movements using similar mathematical models. This simultaneous appearance of conventional history maintains these civilizations developed independently. The academic consensus claims similar solutions emerged to similar problems. They argue that basic geometry and astronomy would naturally develop along parallel lines. But the precision of these parallels challenges this explanation. The identical application of complex mathematical concepts seems beyond coincidence. The evidence points toward possible contact or common source knowledge. Ancient seafaring capabilities might have been more advanced than we've acknowledged. Maritime routes could have connected civilizations we consider separate. Alternatively, a precursor civilization might have distributed this knowledge before disappearing from historical records. The Longyu Caves in China demonstrate engineering sophistication that shouldn't exist for their time period. The precision carving of massive underground chambers shows technical knowledge matching other ancient sites globally. The uniformity of construction suggests standardized techniques rather than local innovation. Costa Rica's stone spheres present another piece of the puzzle. Their mathematical perfection and precise carving echo achievements found in other ancient cultures. The craftsmanship required suggests specialized knowledge that appears in multiple locations without clear connections. The Yonaguni Monument's massive underwater structures show construction techniques resembling other ancient sites. The precise angles and carved features suggest human intervention, using methods found elsewhere. The potential artificial origins challenge our understanding of ancient capabilities. These aren't isolated curiosities. They form a pattern of advanced knowledge appearing across the ancient world. The consistency of techniques and understanding suggests interconnection rather than isolation. The evidence implies communication or common inheritance of technological knowledge. The global pattern forces re-evaluation of historical narratives. The conventional story of isolated civilizations developing independently becomes increasingly difficult to maintain. The weight of evidence suggests we're looking at fragments of a larger picture. A picture of the evidence suggests ancient civilizations possessed knowledge we're only now rediscovering. These mysteries challenge textbook timelines and force us to question conventional narratives. The pattern of suppressed evidence and global similarities in technology suggests our understanding of history remains incomplete. Question what you've been taught and examine the evidence yourself using emerging technologies and independent research. The truth about our past may be far more complex and interesting than official accounts suggest. History isn't settled, it's an ongoing investigation requiring open minds and critical thinking.